warm welcome to this very special broadcast. I'm Nayantara Rai, working from home in New Delhi. I have a very special guest with me. He's a former number one in the tennis world, an 8-time Grand Slam winner, and now a businessman and an educator. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us all the way from Las Vegas is none other than Andre Agassi. Andre Agassi, thank you so much for talking to us here in India. You've agreed to give us this interview because you want to talk about education, which you so famously now say is what gives hope. Education gives hope. And what I found really fascinating is that when you were all of 23, you decided this is how you wanted to spend nearly, what, 2/3 of your life. Tell us about this part of your journey in your life.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. And, for me, education was something I never had the privilege of. And as a result, tennis was my only choice. And even though I got the number one in the world, I struggled a lot personally with my disconnect. So when I started to realize that other children who don't sort of have choice in their life really find themselves in desperate situations, I decided to build my own philanthropic school in a very poor neighborhood of Las Vegas, where I live. And through this, I learned so much about just what education can offer a child's life. And I figured out a way through the private sector to actually expand this across the United States for the best-in-class charter school operators. And then funny enough, now with Square Panda, I was ahead of the curve on this too about 4 years ago, starting this company that says we need to figure out a way at home and online for these children to kind of make up for some of the biggest issues we see, not just in America, but across the world, which is literacy and also English second language learning, because we have this issue here. So my journey has always been about to try to impact more and more children, which is what took me to your beautiful country and what has about 100 employees now in our headquarters in Mumbai.
Square Panda, which is teaching children from the age of 2 to 8. They have an app as well. What appealed to you about Square Panda?
Well, I'll tell you what appealed to me about it is in tennis, as an example, it's about problem solving. And what I recognized so clearly with Square Panda is that we have the studies, we have the neuroscience, we have the ability to individually teach a child and meet a child exactly where they are on their roadmap to learning English. And so now all of a sudden you start to realize this isn't a information issue. This isn't an ability issue. This is a distribution issue, right? It's like having food, but not knowing how to get the food to the people that are starving. So this is what really excited me, was that we could come up with a distribution vehicle that could individually meet children where they are in their English language learning and work specifically with the topography of their brain to help them learn at such an incredible rate of speed that the results have been incredibly impressive. And so when I tried these in my schools and I saw the efficacy of what it does, it then became about scale. How do we scale this? Where do we want to scale it? Who needs it the most? And English is such an important tool for success in our cultures. We need to learn, we need to grow, and we need to do it as early as possible. So this was what really excited me.
And where do you see Square Panda headed? It's the largest office, like we just said, outside of the United States. What's yours and Andy Butler's vision when it comes to Square Panda?
Well, thanks for asking. Square Panda, to be specific, is an entire ecosystem. It's an ecosystem of fun, engaged game playing that has the neuroscience teachings behind it that lead your child individually through their process of learning without having to have the oversight and the governance even. And then inside this ecosystem is what we have called Square Tales, which is a swipe to read. So for example, if you have a word like cat, the child at 3 years old, at 4 years old can put their finger on it and they can drag their finger and it will pronounce k, a, t. And then if they swipe it fast, it's like cat. So we're starting to see that these children can read within, a very short period of time. And as far as the vision for the company, this is where we're starting in India with this Square Tales, but it will grow to the entire ecosystem. We fully expect to be throughout your wonderful country in the next couple of years, and then we're also in Beijing, and then we would have hopes for many other countries, Indonesia, others, that Africa, that sort of has some similar but different challenges.
And how did you get? What sealed the deal for you when it came to Square Panda? The founder, Andy Butler, was telling me you were supposed to have a 30-minute long meeting, but it ended up being 2.5 hours the first time. Who did it for you?
Well, it's funny because Andy likes to, I call it a cold call. He just cold called me, but he likes to call it a very warm call because he knew my experience in education, and he knew that, my heart would be wrapped around, the hopes for what this can do. So the first thing I did was, obviously, I tried to understand it in its conception, and it has changed, mind you. I mean, Andy is a founder of something very special, but it's almost unrecognizable, the journey we've traveled with it. With that being said, I tried it in my schools. I wanted to see the efficacy. I wanted to make sure that it did what it claimed it can do. And when I saw the results of our children reading, 30% faster and more comprehensively, and it being an addition to what they're already doing, then that's when I really got involved. So to be clear, I'm not a spokesperson. I'm not an ambassador. I am the largest shareholder. I've traveled the world on behalf of Square Panda. I'm the chairman of the board of Square Panda. And this is just something I really believe has scalability and it has sustainability, meaning it's going to be able to last in these children's life for generations. So it's exciting.
When did you know that you wanted to also be in education, the business of education? You did that at a young age. You're a grade 8 dropout. But when did you know that, this is going to be my second career?
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if I ever had a point where I said, this is my second career until it already had happened. But it was a passion of mine. I knew when I was number one in the world and very disconnected with my life, and I saw the hope that you can give children who don't have choices in their life. I mean, this was always a passion. And then when I built my school philanthropically, and I realized that, it's great that you can build one school, but the truth is I had more people, more children, more parents on the waiting list than I had in my school. So the question became how do we scale? And waiting for government has been tough, and philanthropy isn't very scalable. So I started to say, but we can innovate, and we can go to the private sector, and we can figure out solutions to real daunting societal issues. And when I recognized that we can scale in a sustainable way by accessing the private sector, that's what really kind of hit me as this is the direction I want to go in life. And Square Panda I've built 106 schools across the United States over the last 5 years, and I can tell you that the way we can scale the impact into children's lives at a very young age, the most impressionable age, the age where the brain has the most elasticity to grow and to learn, we can do it on a level unparalleled. And obviously this is a terrible time that we're all living right now with COVID-19, but it also does shine a light on the importance of having options, for unpredictable circumstances, and also educate people on how much of an addition just the ability to be able to work 15 minutes a day on your own time to learn and to grow, even it helps subsidize what you do at the school, so they really do work together from the classroom to the homeroom. And that to me, is one of the silver linings at the moment is we can really spread this message.
In fact, because you brought up COVID-19, the Black Swan of 2020, there's a lot that we have learned. You talked about that with respect to maybe education. What has Andrea Agassi learned in the last couple of weeks? We in India, incidentally, are in a lockdown. I know a couple of the states in the US are in a lockdown as well.
Yeah, we are. We are. We've been in lockdown for about 6 weeks. I have learned first and foremost that my wife really does love me, because sometimes you can get so busy that that you forget what's really most important. So I think spending time with the family together. I just had my 50th birthday, 2 days ago, so I can tell you that that it's a birthday I'll never forget, being in lockdown. But nevertheless, you try to see the good in it. You try to understand that what we're all doing is for everybody to get past this as soon as possible. You try to get creative. Thankfully, my children are at an age where they kind of can understand what's happening, 18 and 16. And I thank God that my daughter's very creative. So as a result, she's gotten me into some, interesting projects and
like what?
Well, like for example, planting some trees, turning the back of her truck into a swimming pool, dyeing. So she thought of it. She says, if we got a canvas and we made a canvas and we put it in the back and then we filled up the back of the truck and then we could let it sit in the sun and it would get warm and she could have a swimming pool in the back of her truck. So we then, of course, used the water for the garden that we started to plant so she had it all figured out. We're going to put the water in and then we're going to use the water to make some trees grow that where we get to enjoy together. So, we just day by day, we just figure it out.
So was it your most memorable birthday? Did Steffi Graf bake you a cake?
No cake, but a beautiful gift. She got a camper for us to go, quietly as a family with proper distance, socializing, distance separation between where we were, and we spent 2 days just kind of together in a camper in nature. So it was kind of it was fun.
Back to the roots, as they say. I think that's another big learning for all of us, right, during this lockdown. But Andrea Agassi, also tell us, you spent about $650 million till date in your passion, which is education. Do you look at it as a business which must make a profit, or do you look at it as public service? How do you look at all of this?
Well, it's you ask a very interesting question, because I think you have to look at it holistically. Holistically means if all this was about just business, it wouldn't be very exciting. If all this was just about helping people, you would be very limited in how you could help people. But if you can find a way to take business and tie it to real overwhelming issues in our society, and you can address them, you can actually make the world go around in a more holistic, productive way. So the truth is, without one, the other would be very very either frustrating or unmotivating.
So you have to strike a balance. Is that what you're basically trying to tell me?
Yes. What I'm saying is you need to strike a tension between, number one, what impact you're trying to have. Number two, what's the least amount of economics that you can get away with to really put it at scale. And that includes in the home, what it means for the child, what it means for the parent. It includes in investors in like my school fund I've done in the United States. You don't look for an investor that wants to make a lot of money. You look for an investor that says, maybe I don't want to give away my money, but I want to see huge societal change, and so you find the balance between these decisions, and then you surround yourself with a team that doesn't take for granted the focus and the importance of that tension.
So tell me, you have more than 100 schools in the United States. Have you ever looked at maybe other countries to set up schools, or is it such a large mission already that your hands are full?
Well, yes, it's my hands are full, I can assure you. But what I would say is when it comes to hard facilities for schools, United States, it's taken me 20 years in this space to figure out to navigate the roads to its success, and every country has their different governances and rules of engagement, and so to figure out how to go with facilities and with brick and mortar has been would be too much of a challenge for me now internationally. But that's why I feel so excited about Square Panda, because look at us. We live in a day and age where, yes, we have to be apart. Unfortunately, I was coming to India in the middle of March. I was scheduled for some amazing announcements, but we can't do it. But look at the technology. We still get to share together. Unfortunately, it's from a distance and it's virtual. But what if we did this with education? What if there's a way to supplement and give these parents who are overwhelmed and with just the state of the circumstances and the children who need to continue learning? What if we could, use this tool for good things, and I think we have the opportunity to do that.
Is this the future of education, according to you, whether it's at school level or even at college level?
Yeah, here's what I would say to that, and I'm not an expert at predicting, the future. Right?
Yeah.
I like to be ahead of the curve, but what I can absolutely say unquestionably is there is a full holistic approach to a comprehensive education, and I believe technology is a very crucial part of that pie graph, because not utilizing it is a missed opportunity. We still need and want classrooms. I mean, you can't deny the need for human connection. You can't deny the need for people to learn from each other in real life, but we also can't deny the scalability and the impact we can have to have learning at our fingertips as well. So I think technology is a big part of it.
You said you were going to come to India in March to make some exciting announcements, but because of COVID-19, you couldn't come. Do you want to still tell us what those announcements are?
Well, what I can tell you is that what we were going to announce is some partnerships and some growth and some traction to give people the hope that we're scaling this across your country. But now that we kind of put some priorities back in place with across the world, given what's going on, we're just going to hold back a little bit from any specific announcement. But be assured that we're alive and well, and we are growing as we speak in your country. And I will be coming there as soon as they lift the ban. I'm a person of a lot of trust. I'm going to take my hand sanitizer, and I'm going straight to the airport.
Great, and I hope you'll give us an in-person interview when you actually come to India, and it will be a refreshing change from the virtual one. But Andre, you were in India recently when you decided to enter India with Square Panda and all of that. Do you want to share with us what the journey has been like? You've, of course, got Ashish Jalani, who's heading the Indian operation. Andy Butler, the founder, is very much on top of things.
Yes, well, I've been to the offices, many times. We have, I believe now, over 100 employees there. It's our largest headquarters. We see great need. We see a fabulous reception. We're being welcomed for what it is. I think India has a very strong ability to be nimble despite their size. I think they understand that we need simple solutions to big problems. So the way we've been received has been just wonderful, which is why we're sort of building our team out so much, led by Ashish, who's just, tireless and smart as anybody I've ever met, and certainly become a friend of mine. And so it's, I don't want to force feed this to anybody. I only want to go where we're wanted. I only want to go where people understand the importance and have the need. And so in that case, as we've evolved as a company, this has made a tremendous amount of sense.
And how has it been received in the United States outside of your schools? When you go to other schools, how has it been received?
Oh, it's been received, unbelievable. You know, the differences in America and our school systems. There's layers to it, right? So, teachers need to understand its full implications and its full ecosystem. And then the superintendents of the districts. We have over 15,000 districts in the United States. They need to understand the importance and the efficacy of it. And then there needs to be a decision made for a more of a broader rollout. And then the state itself has different allocations of budgeting. If you talk about from California, across our whole country. So there's so many working components that the rollout to schools has a process to it. But we've only been growing at an incredible trajectory.
As businesses go bust around the world, everyone's talking about how education technology is the buzzword, is going to stay here, nothing's going to happen to it. Are you getting lots of cold calls, a lot of emails from those who want to get you on board, as an investor?
Well, yes, in some cases investors, but what we're experiencing from a Square Panda standpoint is we're experiencing hundreds of calls a day on how we can help all these schools and parents, and so yes, it is a buzzword now, but be aware that this company started five years ago. So as a result, it's so important to always be ahead, that you're prepared to offer the next solution that you inevitably think is where we're headed. And I think despite how terrible the circumstances are, I think we would be here anyhow with the buzzword being ed tech, because sooner or later we have to grow.
So here's to hope and here's to education. And as I wrap up this interview, Andrew Agassi, if you'll indulge me, when I told everyone, and trust me, I told everyone that I'm interviewing you, I was asked by quite a few people if I could just ask you, do you still play tennis recreationally?
Not if I can help it, no. Sometimes I'll do some charity tennis lessons, but no, it's an old life, and I can do it too well, so I always regret it physically the next day.
And if I ask you who your all-time favorite tennis player is, are you going to say Steffi Graf, or is it someone else?
Oh, okay. How can it be anybody else? What do you mean? It's
your second favorite.
Well, it's not about favorite for me. I appreciate the sport on so many levels that watching players play it differently and uniquely, and maximizing what it is they bring to the table. I mean, that's what I enjoy about the game, and I think everybody has a very special part of their game to appreciate. So for me, it's not about a favorite. I mean, I love the work ethic of Nadal. I love how he's tireless emotionally. I love how easy Federer makes it look. I love watching Djokovic defend and play the game so inside himself. And, and I love watching all sorts of other talents, Monfils and all the people that kind of bring so much excitement to the game. So it's not about favorite. It's about appreciating, the nuance of what everybody does.
And are you and Pete Sampras still in touch? That was the other question, because when we were growing up, it was between the two of you.
Yeah, Pete, I say in my book, well, I would have won a lot more if it wasn't for him. I think I would have been a lot less if it wasn't for him. I think he taught me a lot about myself. I think we're two entirely opposite kind of tennis players. I think we're two entirely opposite kind of personalities, and I think it really led to a beautiful moment in time where you have this thing called a rivalry, and now we're sort of we're sort of spoiled with rivalries in tennis with the greatness that's going on now. But it was so much fun to be a part of it.
And with that, Andrew Agassi, thank you so much for giving us this experience.
Well, it's such a pleasure, and I hope to see you in person soon.